of the 110 total Diamond certified songs in the United States, there are about 28 of them that I would classify as rap songs. If you don't already know, a Diamond certification is given by the RIAA in the US for songs that have sold over 10 million units. So today, I'm gonna go through all these Diamond rap songs and rank them on a tier list just purely based on how much I like them. I'm just gonna go by the order that the songs were released in here, so let's jump right into it.
His palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already. Mom's spaghetti.
His palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. I'll put this in the S tier, no regretty. This is deservedly Diamond. This is one of the best songs that Eminem has out there. Lose Yourself basically tells the story of the character of B Rabbit from the 8 Mile movie, but it also has lines that are related to Eminem's own life, and I feel like he managed to sort of weave in between those two sort of separate characters, one of them being himself and the other one being B Rabbit, pretty damn well, and just makes it run together so smoothly. And it makes for an insanely good motivational track. If you haven't listened to this song in a while, give it a listen right now and it's gonna instantly energize you like it's the first time that you've heard it. The rhyme scheme is insane, and the actual rhythm of the rhymes hitting the instrumental is just so perfect. It's expertly executed. This one is a masterpiece of songwriting in my opinion, and it's a song that's lasted decades for a reason. Low is definitely a different type of song to Lose Yourself, but this one had a crazy amount of staying power too, with a lot of credit for that going towards T-Pain's hook on the song. That shit is iconic. Everybody knows the apple bottom jeans, boots with the fur hook. I think I used to really not like this song as a kid because it used to play on the radio all the damn time, and it started to bug me, but listening to it now, it's actually pretty nostalgic and works well as an energetic southern club rap style of song. I don't love it, but I'd comfortably put it in the B tier. It's an enjoyable song, and looking back at it, Flo Rida actually had way more personality in his rapping here than he did on his 2010s radio hits. Can you blow my whistle baby, let me know.
Let's get lost tonight. You could be my black Kate Moss tonight.
Another absolute classic right here, man. S tier. This is one of the first songs I had in constant rotation on my iPod Classic. My mum had the CD for graduation, so I uploaded it onto iTunes, and this song and Good Life became my go-tos. The perfect Daft Punk sample worked to give this track a more futuristic and anthemic sound than anything Kanye had made before, really. The cocky Kanye lyrics are just amazing around this era. Again, it's another one that I used to be a little sick of because of overplaying, but listening to it again now after not listening to it for a while, it's just greatness, man. It's deservedly Diamond, a masterclass in production and making electronic rap crossover music. It always makes me laugh that Lil Wayne kicks this one off by saying no homo before saying pretty much anything else. He really didn't want you to think that this next line was gay. As for the track as a whole though, I'm sitting at a low B for Lollipop. The production and the hook are pretty memorable, but I'm not a big fan of how Lil Wayne's auto-tune sounds on the track, and it also just lasts a little bit too long for a song that I'm not crazy about. I respect it being a different type of track for Wayne, but I'd be lying if I said I love it. It's definitely not weak enough to go into the C tier though. It's a decent little vibe. Maybe a bit of a controversial one here, but I would put Pursuit of Happiness in the C tier as a high C, but a C nonetheless. Kid Cudi has always been one of those artists for me where he definitely has some good songs that I enjoy, but I've never been a huge fan of his music overall. There are things I appreciate here. The production is solid enough, and lyrically the track has a solid concept, but it's Cudi's vocals that kill it for me personally. And the thing is, Cudi's vocals do work for the concept of the track, but it just doesn't sound that good to me, so it's not a song that I really enjoy listening to. not terrible, and there certainly is stuff to appreciate here, it's just not really for me. I much prefer Soundtrack to My Life or Day and Night from the same album as this song.
I can't tell you what it really is, I can only tell you what it feels like.
Eminem and toxic relationship music, it's a combo that's guaranteed to show up on pretty much every album. This is one of those toxic relationship songs, and I can't lie, even with some corny lines here and there, I'd still put this one in the A tier. It's a solid pop rap crossover with a story about an extremely toxic and abusive relationship where the people in it can't seem to leave each other. It can be an uncomfortable listen, of course, if you're not laughing at the window pane lyric, but I think it showcases the chaotic cycle of this type of relationship pretty well, trying to rationalize how fucked up it is before it crashes down into the same violent behavior. And Rihanna's hook that was originally created by Skylar Grey sounds pretty great too, adding a necessary extra layer to the track. I like this one overall, honestly. Right after that, we have another recovery era Eminem song that was a very successful time for him commercially, and this one is a little bit more wholesome, being partially about his rehabilitation and comeback from his drug addiction that nearly killed him. And it was also a song that Eminem kind of viewed, I guess, as his comeback from the Relapse album, which he expresses dissatisfaction with on this very song. Some people don't like the very poppy, anthemic sound to this one, but I think the truly heartfelt subject matter makes it work very well, and the context behind it really carries it. Dropping it in the A tier right there. Also, Eminem is not a good singer. I don't think that's something that can really be debated, but there is something about his singing on this track that I just find endearing, especially with what it's about and the whole message of the song. I think his singing not being good actually works on here, especially during the bridge. It's super clean and polished, but I think it works as something a little bit more uplifting from Eminem. And of course, there's also the nostalgia factor here of little 11-year-old me replaying the music video over and over again on YouTube just so that I could keep hearing the song.
This one is for the boys with the booming system, top down AC with the cooler system. When he come up in the club, he be blazing up, gas stacks on deck like he's saving up.
A tier for super bass. I know a lot of people find this song obnoxiously poppy, and I completely get it, but I think Nicki kinda pulled it off on here. It works with her rapid fire rapping and quirky vocal inflections. Sometimes I have no problem with the track that's just super bubblegummy and fun. And it turns out if you process the hell out of Nicki's singing, it can actually sound fairly good like it does on the hook here. I don't care if anyone else thinks this is too high up on the tier list, because I don't think it is. Early 2010s pop Nicki was cooking a little bit sometimes.
Can we go back? This is the moment.
They try to say I ain't black no more, about as black as Macklemore. Sorry, it's just one of the first things I think of when I see his name now. I think I'll go with the B tier for this one. From what I can remember, this song didn't really start getting serious mainstream traction until about 2013, and it is one that absolutely suffered from the wow, this is really getting overplayed now effect. But unlike some of the other songs on this list, which I mentioned were a little bit overplayed at certain points in time for me, I don't feel like Can't Hold Us ever really recovered from that for me. The hook from Ray Dalton is pretty great, the production is really solid, the rapping from Macklemore is good too, but there's something about the replay value of this song that is just gone for me now, after hearing it every single day on my morning drives to school in 2013. Not a bad song at all, but I'm rating all of these based on how I feel about listening to them right now in 2023.
Walk into the club like, what up, I got a big cock.
Speaking of overplayed, Jesus, the radio loved Macklemore in the early to mid 2010s. Thrift Shop is another one that's a pretty solid song. I appreciate the humorous aspect of its lyrics and how it flips the whole flexing about this expensive thing that I've bought trope in rap onto its head. It's just another one that I've been burned out on due to it playing so much around 2013. B tier, but again, there is a lot to appreciate with the song, and I'd have Thrift Shop as a higher B than Can't Hold Us. Extra points for the sample of Clay Davis from The Wire as well.
I'll be in the kitchen cooking pies for my baby, yeah.
Now hey, maybe I'm just nostalgic again about that Fetty Wap summer of 2015, but I would put Trap Queen in the A tier. That hook is one of the catchiest things ever, man. Fetty was killing that melody. The rap verse that the song has is a little bit less amazing in my opinion, but the more I listen to it, the more I feel like, okay, it's a decent little change up to keep the song fresh, you know? Obviously overall though, it's the melodic parts that really make this one click. The production slaps too. Tony Fad snapped on this beat.
And I know when that hotline bling.
It was interesting of Drake to experiment with making elevator music with this one. It's a very boring song and I was suffering through it in 2015 and 2016 because this song was huge and it would not stop playing everywhere I was. It's so damn long too, and the lyrics are just painful. The only reason it's not in the D tier is because somehow Drake managed to get much worse since the time period that this dropped in, and albums like Honestly Nevermind truly showcase how shit Drake can get. You know, at least Hotline Bling has smooth vocals, I guess. It's not as terrible as something like Falling Back, for example. I remember hearing this song when it first came out and thinking to myself, yeah, this Post Malone dude, he's gonna have one hit and then disappear. I might have been a little bit off with that prediction. I'm very happy that I was wrong about that because I love Post's music now, but I'm gonna put this song, White Iverson, as a low B. A big thing that really makes me enjoy it now is that nostalgia factor again, but Post Malone's vocals were definitely less developed on here, and it was also released during his awkward half a rapper, half not a rapper phase. It's a cool vibe though with its smooth, airy production. It's got a fairly nice hook on it, and I like the second verse from Posty. Not one of my favorites from him, but it's nice enough.
How can we not talk about family when family's all that we got?
Quite a few songs on this list have suffered from the dreaded overplaying effect, and oh my god, is this one of them? It was the best-selling song of 2015 globally, so you could not escape this shit if you were a teenager at the time like I was, who once again had to hear the radio whenever I was being driven anywhere by my parents. I don't really think there's anything wrong with See You Again, it's just a very clean, poppy rap song that's about as commercially targeted as it gets, but I'm gonna put it in the C tier simply because I never want to hear it again. It's probably the one song on this list that I've heard the most without actively choosing to listen to it.
That's why I need a one dance.
This might be the shocker of the century, but I'm not putting an extremely massive Drake hit that a lot of people find boring into the C tier here. One Dance is a B for me. Sure, this one was overplayed too, but I feel like I managed to avoid the overplaying of this one a little somehow. I guess I just started putting on my earphones for all the car trips at this point, and I just like the vibe to this one. It's got solid Drake singing, and the Kyla sample works really well here. I also feel like it kind of dropped at a time where the dancehall rap crossover type of sound wasn't really overdone like I feel like it kinda is now. And it's not overly long like Hotline Bling. It is short and sweet at just under 3 minutes long.
I might just chill in some babe. I might just chill with your boo.
You know, I used to hate this song, but re-listening to it for this video, I actually found it pretty enjoyable. It has its moments with Cardi's flow and confident delivery laid over the dark trap style beat. Her intensity is actually pretty impressive on this track. I think I used to find the slightly minimal approach to the production on this song a little bit boring, but listening back to it now, I think it actually complements Cardi B's rapping style on this song pretty well. I'm a bit 50-50 on the chorus still. It's sort of halfway between annoying and catchy to me, but the energy on the verses is hard. I originally thought I'd put this as a low C, but it's actually a solid B.
I don't really care if you cry.
This might sound like a wild choice considering what else is in this tier, but EXO Tour Life is genuinely an S tier song for me. Obviously, it's a way different type of song to Stronger and Lose Yourself, but it dropped in a completely different decade. It's a different generation and era of music, and I think EXO Tour Life is a generation-defining song for modern melodic rap music. I already like Uzi's music a lot, and even then, I'm still shocked that they managed to make something so insanely catchy and perfect. Like, everything about this song works. Every vocal and flow that Uzi hits on this song is infectious and meshes with the production beautifully, with the result being a song that I love and will probably never get sick of. It's so funny how it seems like this was considered at first as just another random Uzi song, because I remember when it dropped it was just thrown onto SoundCloud in the Love Is Rage 1.5 EP as just one of the 4 songs on there, and was only given a commercial release after it quickly started taking off. But it deserved that success in my opinion, and is a song that defines not only Uzi, but a huge subgenre within rap music. You know, looking at this song now in the context of this tier list, this song kind of feels like French Montana trying to make his own One Dance. I used to like this song a bit more than I do now, but I'd still put it in the B tier. It's not too bad. One thing that I noticed when I was re-listening to it for this ranking that annoys me a bit more now than it used to is the drums on here. All I can focus on now is how kind of closed off and synthetic they sound, if that makes sense. The all too sharp and perfect way that they hit feels like a weird mix with Sway Lee's insanely reverberated vocals, and they just dominate the whole mix of the song. It's still pretty catchy though, and French does a solid job of not ruining his own song, so all in all I like it less now, but it's still kind of enjoyable and works well in a club setting.
I've been fucking hoes and popping pillies, man, I feel just like a rock star.
Rockstar is decent. Again, I used to like it more than I do now. It's certainly not the most interesting track, but Post has a decent verse on it, and it's nice to hear the flow switch up for a little bit during it, and 21 Savage comes through with the pretty entertaining low-key verse. Not too much to say about it, it's just fairly nice, but also pretty unremarkable.
Diamond District in the chain.
This song bangs, I'm not gonna lie. The beat goes insanely hard, the sample use is pretty solid, I love Cardi's energy on the track, and the feature selection really works for the song too. That reminds me, I need to hear more Bad Bunny music because his voice and his flows usually sound great to me. It's a very fun track and probably even falls on the more family-friendly end of Cardi B's music in a way, being more suggestive and metaphorical than flat-out explicit, so it has that wide appeal that makes the Diamond certification of it make a lot of sense. It's always been one of Cardi's more enjoyable songs for me. It's a banger.
Now they always say congratulations.
Now this is a good Post Malone track from his kind of a rapper, kind of not a rapper era for me. Congratulations is great. Of course, with Post Malone's voice and delivery style, even his celebratory songs have a sort of moody tone to them. But here I kind of like the slightly melancholy, triumphant sound of the song, and it makes sense with some of the content talking about people who don't want to see you succeed. Quavo sounds great over this instrumental, the beat itself is well produced, every part of this track is solid. Congratulations on this Diamond certification, Mr. Malone. Also, that reminds me, I should probably bring this up. It's a pretty hard flex that Post Malone has so many Diamond certified songs that he was able to drop an EP called the Diamond Collection. Hold on a second, this cheeky bastard, man. I was looking at the Diamond Collection on Spotify just to see what's on it, and I noticed he just slipped Chemical in there. I guess that's considered as a bonus track because that certainly is not Diamond yet. That's a new track. That's a sneaky little bit of marketing right there.
I feel good sometimes, I don't. I finesse down Western Road.
God's Plan is an enjoyable little song. Nothing too special or exciting, just a very straightforward track with a slightly upbeat sound to it and some more smooth Drake singing that doesn't sound like garbage, so no surprises. I like it when the music doesn't suck. B tier for God's Plan, very inoffensive and a decent listen.
I still see your shadows in my room.
Even back when I liked Juice WRLD's music less, this song stood out as something special. Something about the way the song feels, Juice's vocals on it, the great sample-based production with those lovely 808s, it all felt like a step above most of the stuff that I'd heard from him at that time. It's another song that really feels like it defines the late 2010s emo rap era, and while I wouldn't quite have it in the S tier, It's a very good song.
Have me out like a light, hey, like a light.
Let's go sicko mode, ladies and gentlemen. I've talked about this a little bit before, but my mind has not changed that the worst beat on sicko mode is the second beat, and it lasts for 2 minutes of the 5-minute song. I love the first beat, and the third beat is so good too, but it's like having a sandwich with 2 lovely, warm, fresh slices of bread on either end, and the filling is swamp sludge. I appreciate the warm bread still, but it's harder to appreciate the sandwich as a whole. Maybe if the first section was longer and the second section only had 1 verse, I'd bump this up to an A, but as it is, I'll put it as a high B. It starts strong and ends strong at the very least.
You can get the biggest Chanel back in the store if you want it.
Drip Too Hard is a simple, fun banger and one of the better tracks Baby and Gunna had together around this era of their music. It's a song that I kind of forget exists until someone brings it up or I randomly hear it somewhere, but listening to it is not a bad experience at all. It's everything it needs to be with a simple guitar-based trap beat and slick flows from Baby and Gunna.
I'm sad, I know ya. I'm sad, I know ya.
Weirdly enough, I can actually remember that the first time I heard this song, I was hungover. If you know my opinions on X, you'll know that I wasn't a fan of his music around this time, but I listened to this when it dropped and quite liked the sound of it. I questioned if it was the hangover clouding my thinking, but I continued to listen to it after, and it still sounded good to me after the hangover had subsided. I'd place Sad as a high B on my tier list. It's a very catchy song. The inclusion of X's BMW seatbelt alarm sound in the beat was a nice touch, and the vocals are fairly smooth. There's not necessarily much to it, but I like it.
I won't never sell my soul, and I can beg that.
I do hate when people call Roddy a one-hit wonder because of the box. Like, sure, it's his biggest song, but he has quite a few others that are massive. But I will admit, the box is one of his biggest for a reason. It's pretty great, and I'd put it in the A tier. It has all the hallmarks of peak Roddy Ricch music, constant flow and delivery switches that are super memorable and always sound interesting, a hook that gets stuck in your head for days, and this one even has creative vocal additions to the beat to make it stand out even more. Roddy's best music just never gets boring, and the box is up there with his most standout songs. I hope one day he can return to form, but if not, I will always have Please Excuse Me for Being Antisocial to cherish.
100,000 for the cheapest ring on the nigga finger, little bitch.
And our final Diamond certified rap song is going in the C tier. If only being too turned up was a valid reason not to do your taxes, this song would save us all a bunch of money, and maybe I'd put it a tier or 2 higher. But as it is, it's a song that has grown off me quickly over time. I think I used to like it a bit more, but if I had my music library on shuffle now and this song came up, there's like an 80% chance that I'd skip it. It's not horrible and it sounds okay, but it's just a bit dull, to be honest, on both parts of the song. It's definitely not Drake or Future at their best. And that thrilling end to the video concludes my tier list for every Diamond certified rap song. Nothing in the D tier, but I feel like that's to be expected. If you're making a song that ends up going Diamond, it's got to have some commercial appeal and at least be decent. So yeah, I don't think there's any terrible Diamond certified rap songs. What were your favorites on this list? Let me know down in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching, guys. You can click, I think it's here on the screen, to check out my tier list on the best and worst rap album covers. And much love to all my Patreon supporters and channel members, with a special shout out to my big ballers, and those are Big Daddy Fo, Griffin Upchurch, I Am Region, KWG13270, and Lucas1123.